Alright, it took me more time than it should to get this video out, but oh well. One of you guys left a comment in my last video that version 2 of the beta doesn't usually have any major changes. We start to see some actual difference starting from version 3 or 4. And whoever you were, you're goddamn right. We got some crazy changes for both Sunday and Fugue. And in this video, we'll see if those changes make them even better. So leave a like if you enjoy my content, and let's get started.
Playing a game with awesome units coming out every patch is not easy. You always run out of currency to pull everyone. But that's where lootbar.gg comes in. It's the most popular top-up platform for games like Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, and Zenless Zone Zero. It has a ton of positive reviews and some big content creators using it as well. Not only that, you get incredible discounts for every item compared to the in-game prices. And it only needs your UID for the whole process. Just pick your item, paste your UID, select your region, and top up now. And there you have it. Within seconds, you get your J's. It's fast, it's easy, and it's totally secure. So go check out lootbar.gg from the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below.
Now by this time you guys probably already know what those changes are, so I'm mostly going to discuss the results that those changes brings to the table. And we're going to take this point by point. We of course start with Sunday. Now the first thing to change for him is his base attack, which went down from 737 to 640 or something. Now as a dedicated hypercarry support, any damage stat doesn't really matter because you won't ever attack with your Sunday anyway. The next thing we got is changes to his skill. And my god, in my opinion this is one of if not the biggest change to his skill. Now if he uses his skill on a target that is in the verified state, which is granted through his ultimate, Sunday recovers 1 skill point. So he consumes 1 skill point when he uses his skill and then recovers 1 if he uses his skill on a verified target, making him skill point neutral even without his signature icon. Now there are 2 requirements for this. First is to only use his skill on a verified target, which is not difficult considering there's mostly going to be one single hypercarry on a Sunday team. And the second is to always have that hypercarry under the verified state. Luckily the verified buff from his ultimate lasts for 3 turns. And you can get his ultimate back every 3 turns with an ERRO. You just need to get hit once. And if you place him in the middle of the team, there is no way he won't get hit at least once in those 3 turns. You can also get the Bronya icon and make this even smoother. Being SP neutral not only makes him easier to play and flexible enough to be placed on any team, this also enables some crazy team combinations like Sunday with Bronya. You can also go with Sparkle, but speed tuning with Bronya would be much easier. We'll have to wait for his release to test all these. For his ultimate, he got some boost to his crit damage scaling. Now he will buff more crit damage than before, which is nice. He also got some changes to his talent. Now his crit rate buff will last for 3 turns instead of 2, which is fine if you're using his skill on multiple targets, but since most of the time there will only be one single ally to focus on, this change doesn't really matter that much. For his technique, he will now buff only a single ally with 50% damage increase for 2 turns instead of his whole team, which is kind of enough. But now the other major change we got is with his first passive. This was the one where he used to recover 1 skill point every 2 turns with his skill. Now this is completely different. It targets his ultimate. If the ultimate regenerates less than 40 energy for the target, increase the energy regenerated to 40. So basically his ultimate regenerates 20% of any single ally's max energy. But if this 20% is less than 40 energy, then he will basically give 40 energy flat to that target, which is mostly always going to be the case because in order to have 20% of one's max energy to be over 40, you need to have max energy higher than 200. And we currently only have 2 such units, being Firefly and Yunli. Both have max energy of 240, which means they will get 48 energy through Sunday's ultimate, as that is 20% of 240. But for everyone else, they all will get 40 energy. So simply understand, for any unit that has max energy less than 200, Sunday will regenerate 40 energy. After this, he also got a few changes to his Eidolons, but it's not that relevant in my opinion, as 99% of you guys won't go for an E6 Sunday. But one thing I will discuss is his new E1. Previously, he used to provide 20% rest penetration with his skill, but now, when Sunday uses his skill, he allows the targeted ally to ignore 20% of the enemy target's defense, and they're summoned to ignore 40% of the enemy target's defense when dealing damage, lasting for 2 turns. And this is huge. 20% defense ignored for the character, and 40% defense ignored for the summon. Yeah, this is gonna be super tempting for most players. I still think even at E0, he's a solid tier 0 support for summon units, but if you guys want a bit extra, you can pull for his E1. It's totally worth it. By the way, if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, as it does help this channel grow and motivates me to make more content for you guys. Now for Fugue, there aren't as many changes as we had for Sunday, but there are a few important ones. The first and the most important change is her ultimate energy requirement, Before it was 150, which is a bit too crazy considering she doesn't have any type of energy generating passive. So having reduced energy is great. Now with this, we can easily get a 3 to 4 turn ultimate, which is a much better and optimal rotation to have for a damage source. Most players don't like her ultimate as it's just an AoE damage ability and not any kind of buff or debuff for her allies. But I personally think it is still an awesome ability to have just because of the fact that it reduces toughness regardless of the element. Not many units, especially supports, can do that, and Fugue being able to do it is great in and of itself, especially for break teams. The next major change is in her skill. Now, in addition to every other buff she gives, the break effect boost and defense ignore, now she allows the target character to also reduce toughness regardless of the element, and this damage is 50% of the original toughness damage, which is basically Rappa. This alone makes her a lot better unit than she was before. Even though most break damage dealers have weakness implant, but still, not every break unit can ignore elemental type. Like Boothill, he has a weakness implant, but it is only on his ultimate, which kinda makes it inconsistent. And also, what about Linksha? She, despite being a healer, can deal some massive break damage, especially in pure fiction, and she deals a ton of AoE toughness damage to the enemies. But it all goes to waste if the enemy doesn't have fire weakness. Granted, most players use Firefly, who can implant fire weakness, but don't be mistaken, Firefly's weakness implant is only a single target, and not to the adjacent enemies, which also makes it inconsistent for AoE attackers like Linksha. And that's where the weakness type ignore will play a big role. Firefly herself benefits a lot from this, as now even the adjacent hits from her enhanced basic skill, he will be able to reduce toughness of the enemies without fire weakness, and that's huge. There's also a slight change to her talent. Now the exo toughness mechanics in her kit is called Cloud Flame Luster, and the value is now 40% instead of 50%, which is still higher than the MOC effect that has 30%. And despite the name change, it is still exo toughness damage. Maybe they changed the name so that we can stack both exo toughness and Cloud Flame Luster, resulting in triple breaks, which is going to be crazy. But I still won't quote until I see some gameplay on it. Then we have some unique changes to her stat bonuses. Previously she got effect hit rate, break effect and HP, but now her effect hit rate stat has been changed to 14 speed, which is crazy. Her base speed is 102, which means after this she will have 116 speed without any speed stat, and this makes it really easy to get her above 160 speed, which will allow her to take more turns, resulting in more damage. Her enhanced basic attack does pack some good damage. Now I'm not telling you absolutely should go above 160 speed, but it does make a lot of difference. One other thing to take from here is the fact that now she doesn't have any effect hit rate. Now the effect hit rate requirement remains the same, being around 70%, but now we need to look for more effect hit rate from either substats or just both an effect hit rate body and Lycon. I would personally recommend fulfilling the effect hit rate goal through only relics and use a break effect based Lycon because of the new change to her passive. Now instead of giving a 30% break effect boost to her entire team, she first gives 8% break effect, and if Fugue's break effect is higher than 250, then she gives 16% extra, a total of 24%. And this buff doesn't apply to herself, so you have to make sure to reach this 250% break effect goal. Here are some simple ways to achieve that, but now you know why having a break effect Lycon is much easier, as it helps reaching the 250% mark. Aside from all this, there aren't many major changes to her initial Eidolons. There's a simple change to her E2, which just reduces the energy she gets from 5 to 3, which may seem a bit of a nerf, but keep in mind her max energy is now 130 and not 150, and it's pretty much balanced around that. Overall, both units got some massive changes, making them a lot better than before. In Sunday's case, he is now completely SP neutral even without his signature Lycon, making him much more versatile, and Fugue's energy requirement got reduced, which was a big concern for most players. Not only that, she now allows any unit she wants to be able to reduce toughness regardless of the element, allowing them to deal break and super break damage to them. All in all, I'd say in terms of changes, Fugue got a much bigger boost than Sunday, but as for who is more worth pulling, I'd still recommend Sunday over Fugue, just because of his versatility as a harmony unit. And that's all I have for this video. I was kinda busy with college, causing this big delay for the video. By the time you guys watch this, the version 4 changes are going to be closed, or they will probably be out. But after this, I'll straight upload my full build guide on both of these units, right after the version livestream, so we won't have to worry about changes. Alas, like and sub if you found this video helpful, leave any questions you may have and I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.